who should be off? Who do you think should be off? And we can all talk about that.
All right. Mike Evans at the bottom, tier 6.
Yeah,
deserves to be off.
That was.
I agree with you 1,000%.
That was who I had too. That's hilarious. We all said Mike Evans.
I'm like, why is he in there?
This graphic may or may not have been made by a Buccaneers fan. Okay, I find it interesting that we're putting Andre Johnson and Isaac Bruce in the same tier. I think Isaac Bruce is higher up on that list. Yeah. Now, there's a couple of players that it's just like, what the fuck is Antonio Brown doing at tier 4? I have no idea. If anything, I'll give Antonio Brown a tier 6 receiver spot.
What?
Yeah.
No. If he stayed on the same trajectory, and we're gonna talk about
it's based on talent and accomplishments.
But we're gonna talk about. Listen, we're gonna talk about before the perfect hit. If he stayed on that same trajectory, I mean, first of all,
he doesn't leave Pittsburgh at that point.
Well, and not for nothing, if Calvin Johnson didn't retire at 30. He would be tier 1. He would replace Randy Moss. I believe he'd be right next to Jerry Rice, or if not in that top 3. Because for me, I go back and forth with Megatron and Randy Moss, but Randy Moss has 2 things going for him that we couldn't see from Megatron. Randy Moss, and we talked, and I spoke with Josh about this morning. Is he's made every quarterback that he's caught for look like
Jesus Christ.
That's right. We haven't been able to see that from Megatron because he didn't play long enough. Now, if we're going to speak hypotheticals, at where it stands now, I think Antonio Brown is exactly where he belongs on this pyramid. Now, if you take it before the perfect hit and he stayed on that trajectory, I'd say tier 2 or 3.
I think in terms of taking people off, I'm with you guys with Mike Evans. I also think Henry Ellard probably comes off, even though he had a great long run. I don't think that he was that level. Looking about who probably could be moved, I hear you, George, in terms of Andre Johnson, and that's even as a Kane. Andre Johnson was a beast, but he never had the quarterback, and then he never had the team success. He had plenty of, individual success, but most people never even got a chance to really appreciate how good Andre Johnson really was.
How do we feel about D-Hop's placement?
There's modern, when I see the modern day players in here, I'm like, we're leaving out Devontae Adams, and I definitely feel like
Devontae Adams hasn't played long enough for me.
I just think
that's fair.
He hasn't played long enough for me.
Okay. That's fair, and also catching from Aaron Rodgers, so. You had a year with Derek Carr, and you didn't look average because I will say that the game that I went to, he was open a lot, and Derek Carr did not throw him the ball.
Listen, if you have Lamar Jackson throwing to Devontae Adams, it's going to be a different story altogether. I think he has absolutely that potential, but he hasn't played long enough, and unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers is a bitch. So it's like we don't know what his real gauge is yet. Do I think that he can dominate this? Yes.
Julio Jones being above.
Where's Julio?
He's in tier 4. Him being above a lot of Super Bowl winners. I got
him being above Lynn Swan.
How do you know that's who I was? But yeah, no, Lynn Swan. I can put him above Andre Reed, obviously, but Fred Biletnikoff. You know what I mean? Like there's Super Bowls matter, and when you start talking accomplishments.
What did you say? What's the last thing you said?
Super Bowls matter.
Okay.
Period.
What do you play for?
You play for rings. Sterling Sharp being tier 6 too was a little.
So really quick, I'm gonna take a little sidewind road right now. So, dear Jets, you play for rings. You do not play for stats. Right now, you take this whatever money you are trying to give Aaron, you give it to Lamar Jackson. fuck Aaron Rodgers because you play for rings. Lamar is ready and he's hungry. Aaron Rodgers is picking at his toes with Pat McAfee on his show. Enough with the bullshit. You play for rings. Stats determine your value in the marketplace, period, when you are a free agent. But what have you done for me lately? And I sent Josh a stat that he posted up. Can we talk about that stat?
We can talk about it quick before we get out. Yeah,
So
1000%.
really quick, Jordan Love, how many 60-plus yards did he throw for that got a winning touchdown in games? It was one game.
I think hold
Two
on.
games.
I'll pull it up.
It was one touchdown. It was 2 touchdowns, one game. Aaron Rodgers, it was 1 touchdown in 33 games. So if you want to go with stats, let's look at those stats too. But go on. Who is a big like a nuisance and a noisemaker? And look at me. Who's not here?
Oh, definitely not Odell.
Odell Beckham Jr. is not on this pyramid.
Doesn't deserve some fuck.
But
I mean, there's a couple of like tosses to people that I'm like mad respect, like Steve Largent up as high as he is. I mean,
he deserves it though because he played in real football.
Don Hudson.
I modeled a lot of like wanting to be a good receiver when I played football and tight end, like seeing Steve Largent highlights.
Yeah,
I was like, my dog never dropped anything.
Fair. Who's one omission that you guys think should be in there?
Well, I had stayed Devontae Adams. I do think he's a logistical nightmare.
Ro, who do you have? I have one, and I might get some flack for it, but I'll go ahead and go with Ro first. Ro, who's your admission? Who would you want to see on there? It's tough, right? Because they did a solid job. They really did cover the landscape of professional football. You know what I mean? They shout out to different areas.
I hate to say this. I really hate to say this, but it's Edelman.
I'm going Patriots. I didn't say Edelman. I was gonna say Wes Welker.
Oh, Wes Welker, yeah.
I was gonna go Wes Welker. Like, I don't know how high up he should be, but he had like a 7-year burst where it was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but he is physically there. You look at Edelman, I think he's a hamster. That system made him great.
Yeah.
And
1000%.
And I think that I'll tell you right now who I think he should replace, and I can say this with bass in my chest, is Torrey Holt. Like, I don't, and I'm gonna tell you who I don't think belongs there is in tier 2 is Don Hudson. Like, get the fuck out of my face. What? What great WR conversation are you in outside of Wisconsin?
Ro does not like the Packers.
No, listen, I feel bad for the people that have to play with Homeboy, but it's like, if we're talking about it, I think that
was Bart Starr's guy. That was his guy. Sometimes I just say things just for Ro's face, and she never ever disappoints me. So,
because it's just stop.
All right. Well, I think that was good. I'm glad. Thank you, Ro, for sending me that picture.
You see, we agree a lot. We don't even talk. By the way, it's not like George, Josh, and I collaborate and go, you guys, who are we going to say doesn't belong on this? Because literally, that's not the point. The point is so we all have a different point of view, and we can be like, are you dumb? Why would you ever say that? Do you even watch football?